I started my career as a young man, same time when I started my family. Exact same time. So I left college when I was a young man at 22, it was. I was dating my wife at that time because we met in college. Yes, we met in college. And when I got my employment, so I mean, like, even now, I mean, people leave and you go to work as an intern, right? Now, when I left college to go and work as an intern, I worked without pay, and I had struggles taking my girlfriend then out for ice cream and a movie. But when I got my employment letter, so I got my employment letter, and a year later, my wife was pregnant with my son, my firstborn. so, so that's why I said I kind of started life, same time. But that's the son I got with my wife, because I got another son with when I was a younger man, who was already born, and therefore I had to take responsibility for the young man. I mean, people, I hear people say they run away from their responsibilities. Where I come from, that's a no-no. It's a no-no. So you take your responsibilities whenever and however they come. So I was already taking care of my family when I was starting on my first check. And that, I think, defined, therefore, then what I became later in life, which is that I did not have room for, shall we say, failure, as it were, although I failed a couple of times on specific projects. But I would try very much not to have to go to places where I would struggle with things that I needed to do. Even at work, I didn't have time to, shall we say, behave badly. I had to behave right, as it were. I mean, I had responsibilities on my shoulders, Unlike most people, I would say. So, people start life, and they say, I want to have some time for me, then I can have time for the others. I didn't have that advantage, and perhaps looking back, I think I started well. Good question, that. And every time I have an opportunity to speak to young people, is to say, surround yourself with the right people. People who will challenge you, but also people who will help you and hold your hand along. That's important. But also what you watch, what you listen to, and what you read. And when the younger you are, the more impressionable you are. So the things that you get exposed to at a young age, to a large extent, and this is something that, I'm an older man now, so I know. So the things that you get exposed to early in life have a lasting impact on even the choices you make later in life. So even the literature you read, even the novels you choose to read, even the characters you identify with in a movie or in a text, even the authors that you look up to, whose books you read. And I believed in reading authors as opposed to books, so I'll see the thinking and how because it defines, you get into someone's mind almost. So you read one text, another text. You read one poem, another poem. You read one article, another article. Then you start getting into someone's psyche, someone's mind. Then you start seeing what lessons you can draw from that person, from how they led their lives, from what choices they made in their lives. And that helps. That helps. I read 2 books as a young man. They're still available, I'm told. That to this day, I think, have, left me quite, an impression. One was The Power of Positive Thinking, which I read. I think I was 14 years old when I read it. And the second one, and I read them just about the same time, was a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. Again, same time. And I was playing one against the other. It became almost practical for me. Later in life, I applied the principles. And then when I started working as a young manager in a TV station, when we used to take these non-technical courses, one of them was 7 Habits. And 7 Habits was very related to my mind. It was reminding me of what I had seen as a young man, as a teenager. And so these things then start having an impact on you. And of course, as they say, there's nothing new under the sun. Is that a statement that I'm sure you had? And so when you look at everything, there is a full picture. You look at the Bible and look at the story of Solomon, and Solomon impacted me then. So Solomon would impact people by saying he had many wives and many girlfriends, or concubines as they call them then, right? Say, I also want a few. I also want a few girlfriends, a few wives, a few concubines and mistresses and maids in my. But it's towards his last days, he tells you it was all vanity. So what was it all about? The wisest man, as we are told, wisest man that ever lived, that will ever live, richest man that ever lived, that will ever live. I mean, his wealth unlikely to be matched. And so all these things start piling on your mind, and they start impacting you as you move along. And so therefore and then the people that you sit with, you have these stories, and they tell you about their own experiences, and you start learning stuff. So there isn't one, I can't say there is one point at which they will say, this is it, this is it, but it's the fullness of it, the wholesomeness. It's all those things that then, you look up to, you read, the music you listen to. Sometimes, you listen to music that also helps you along. Most people give up, So challenges are thrown your way, and before you know it, you say, you know what, let me try something else, it's not working. And I hear that a lot. People give up a lot. I started work on the 29th of November, 1993. Many people may not have been born at that time. But I was working as an intern. I walked into KTN at the time. And I was told, okay, you can become an assistant news producer, as it were. So November end, going into December. I was born and brought up in the village. Literally, by the way. I mean, I came to the city for learning. So I was born and brought up in the village. So I have no relations in the city quite. So I had now to find another cousin who was also starting off life like me, who would then accommodate me in his bedsitter. So I have no money because we weren't being paid. People are celebrating. Of course, it's festive season, so guys are enjoying themselves. I have to catch a mat to go work. I used to work 9 to 11 at night, sometimes up to midnight. Long hours, no food. Long hours, and I have to borrow fare. So I've worked through December, through January, through February, through March, nothing. And some people will come to me and say, I don't even have soap to wash my clothes. So I have to borrow stuff. I mean, how do you do this? I mean, how do you don't have, can't you call someone? I mean, can these guys give you something? I was saying, one day, my prayer was, I just want a foot in through the door, and I'll get my both in and my entire body. And before they know it, I mean, I am not able to walk out. And that's really what I wanted to do. It's became my principle. It's what really I've lived by. I just need half a chance. Half a chance. And the rest will follow. So I got my half a chance through the door. And when they finally gave me my letter of appointment, they were kind enough to backdate it to, which I got, I think, in April of 1994, but they were kind to backdate it to February 1st. So at least they gave me some 2 months, and I had some 2 months where I labored. But of course, you labor. So I would go and I would sleep on chocolate or on some beverage, sometimes on water. And if workmates were kind enough to give me food, I would eat. The remains, as they say. For people's generosity, people give you what is left of their own needs. And that's what really I lived off. Most people, and many young people, give up when faced with challenges. But really, there is no easy road to success. In fact, let me say, success is a mirage that you keep on chasing. You will have achieved something today, and you look too good today, but tomorrow you have to start all over again. Because you are only as good as your last appearance. Every time you appear, you have to make another impression. And that is something that people imagine. Once you've done it, you think that is it. So, but that will be living in the past. The future, you don't know what challenges the future will throw your way. So you have to be prepared for that new challenge. And you will not face the next challenge on your yesterday's success or on the fumes you moved on yesterday. You won't. So when the challenge comes for tomorrow, you will have to wear tomorrow's suit and confront tomorrow's challenge afresh. When I was in school, I used to play basketball. I wasn't the best at that world, but I enjoyed the game. And we had a coach who used to tell us every time you have free throws, what they call free throws, you get fouled in the D, and now you have an opportunity to take throws onto the basket. You have 3 chances, right? Sometimes 3, sometimes 2. And the most difficult was when you had 3 chances, because you want to pot your first shot, right? And then you miss it. Then you get a second chance, which you want to pot, and you miss it. And you get your third shot will almost be a miss. If you miss your first 2, the third you'll miss. Almost always. It's for most people. And so what our coach used to say, and this was for me a life lesson, every shot must be taken fresh. So it's almost like, if you do wine tasting or coffee, you take the first swallow of your wine or whiskey or whatever it might be. Then you have to rinse your mouth. You have to take your first shot and rinse your mind of how you got that shot or how you missed it. Because each shot is a new shot. so that then by the time you're taking your third shot, you'll still be able to shoot to get a shot. So you have to train your mind not to focus on your last win, or your last success, or your last failure, or your last loss. You train your mind on each shot as a fresh shot. So you have a challenge in life. It's just that. You face it, confront it, deal with it. You can celebrate. By all means, celebrate. But be prepared for the next one, because it will surely come. Yeah, it will surely come. And you can be too good, that you imagine that this is it. I am the best that there is. And well, we've been there. You know, you can say I have been there. I've done pretty well. I used to tell guys, so I had the privilege, by God's grace, I had the privilege of working at KTN at a time when we were young. So my friend now understands why I was telling you about the mic. And I had the privilege of leading the production team for many years. And I also had the privilege of heading the station for a while. And I would tell my team in the meetings that I do not want us to be number one. We were, by the way, by God's grace, at the time. But it was never my focus. I used to tell my team, we just have to be the best that we can at today's challenges, with today's issues. We want to be the best that we can, so we tell our stories the best way. We do our best programs, the best way we know today. Best. You know, something, Beryl, and everybody else for that matter. You know, you have nothing of yours. You will never know what God has put in you unless you allow yourself as a vessel to be used of God. You know, when the temple was being built by the king Solomon, after his father David had left, there was nobody who had ever built a temple. And God told the king that you will find skills, and of course there were clans in this. I mean, you know the story perhaps. And these guys were given skills that they just exercised. And sometimes that's all you have to do. You just need to allow yourself to be used of God in many ways. And sometimes people don't consider themselves as vessels. And yet that's what you are. That's why all of us have different talents, different skills. You know, even when sometimes you go and say, I am the best that there is, you lied. Because you don't know. You don't. I mean, so the only thing that you have to do is allow yourself to be the best that you can. And not put limitations or comparisons, and not allow yourself to look at things from someone else's lenses. And I told you about my office. That really was something that I say, they will come and tell me, you know, this is what Nation is doing. This is what I don't know whoever else is doing. I will say it doesn't matter. We'll follow our own path. Because it's in following what it is that we believe in that we can be different. You know, there's a book they call The Zigzag, eh? Or is it The Zag? I think it's The Zag. I don't remember the author. I think it's The Zag. It says, you cannot be number one by copying number one. You can't. If you want to be number one, you have to do things differently. So, and that's really what you have to ask yourself. And you can't be different if you follow what others have done. So, I mean, you have to do your own, you have to pursue your own shall we say, path. Chart your own path. And because you're not competing with anybody, I mean, you must excel. You can only excel when you're competing with yourself. It's all you have to do. It's all you have to do. Nothing much, really. Yeah. So it doesn't matter whether people are driving this or the other, whether people are living here or the other. If people have cleared school and you haven't, it really doesn't matter. If people have, it does not matter, Jack. Sorry, but you just have to determine, this is it. This is who I am. You have to be clear of who you are. This is who I am. This is what I would like to achieve on this one. And you just go for it. Regardless of the noises that come, it takes time. It's okay. It's okay. In any case, this is something I love completely for me. A child must wait 9 months to get born. So you can't harakisha however much you want to harakisha. It's science. It's the way it is. You just have to live with it. It's the way it is. If you plant a tree because you're looking for it to give you a shade, you better be prepared to wait the time. It will take time. It will take a year, 2 years, depending on the type of tree you planted. But the thing is, you have to wait for it to give you what you're looking for. So when you've decided what you want to do, you just need to follow it. And even if it takes time, it doesn't matter. Don't get discouraged, because after all, you are not running someone else's race. And this for me again is also important. You are not God to know what God's plans for you are. So your constant prayer must be, God, reveal to me what your desire in my life is. So you know what the Great Commission was. Go ye, and spread the gospel, right? Spread the word. Jesus telling his disciples, right? I think it's Matthew 27, I think it is. I mean, that is that. But then how come we have all these other people with all these other skills, all these other talents? Well, I mean, people are now looking at going to the moon, and the fellows are communicating with the moon from Earth. I mean, how is this then? It can only be when people are saying, God, use me to achieve and be the best that I can be, because you never know what that is. When you compare yourself with someone else, or you listen to what people will say, because also people do that a lot. And that's why people will go online, get onto Facebook, onto whatever, all these other platforms, and share their stories because they're looking for likes. Guess what? God is reminding us that if you did it so that you can get rewards from men, then you got your reward already. Then you don't deserve from me. So who would you rather get your reward from? So the challenge that you have is to do what you must do to the best of your ability and leave God to do the rest.